where did Microwave Dave, like, how did you get your name?
The name?
Yeah.
Well, we're sitting right where I got it. Not exactly, but it was 1984 or 5, and I've lost track of which year it was. And there was a band coming in from Atlanta named Chicago Bob and the Heart Fixers. And Chicago Bob was from Bogalusa, Louisiana. He lived in Atlanta, but he was Chicago Bob because Muddy Waters named him Chicago Bob. So, of course, that became his name, and he stayed with it. And he had a great guitar player named Tinsley Ellis, just outstanding. And Tinsley, just that particular day, left the band and went on his own. And he is still out there selling records everywhere, touring nationally, worldwide. He's a great guy working out of Atlanta. And so I came in primarily to listen to the band and to listen to Tinsley Ellis play guitar. And I got here, and the Carroll Record here said, Dave, Tinsley's not going to be here. He just left the band and has gone solo and has got a record deal. And so I said, wow. So I said, well, I'm going to listen anyway. So I sat to listen, and I got introduced to Bob Nelson, Chicago Bob. And he said, are you a blues player? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, do you write songs? And I said, yes, sir, I do. He said, do you have any with you? In that era in the 80s, if you were a songwriter, you would have a cassette and your business card attached to the cassette, and you would hand that out to someone that might be interested in your songs. I said, no, sir, I didn't bring any songs out. He said, well, my guitar player just left, and the songs went with him, and we're in the middle of a recording, and I need songs. Would you wait till the last set and sit in and maybe do 2 songs that you think might be good for my style? So that's what I did. I really enjoyed the band. The guitar player replacing him was very good, too, so I had a great time. And the last set I got up, and he did a song and brought me up. And I was supposed to do 2 songs, and I had a lot of fun with the audience. I was really cutting up and having a big time, and I did never get to play with blues musicians. I was always playing with other people that would say, let's play a blues song, all right. And it's just like different. It's like being in a race car and then being on a racetrack with other drivers, right? It's very different. So I got there having a great time. I wound up doing about 5 songs, and finally Chicago Bob gets the hook and get me off of there. And he said, thank you very much. He said, thanks, Dave, and you want me to help with my last name. And I'm not saying anything. I'm just standing here. Thank you. That was a Dave the Microwave. Thank you very much, Dave. And go sit down. And I'm pretty excited. I sat here, I think right back there actually. And I was kind of buzzed. Wow, playing with blues musicians who really know how this stuff works is really exciting, and the response from the crowd was encouraging. So I went off and left my jacket in the place, and I came back the next afternoon, and right here at that corner of the bar, closest to the stage, there was a man a little younger than I am now, who lived somewhere nearby here, and he was in the same clothes as the night before and the same condition, which is, and we were glad he was not driving. Let's put it that way. Wherever he was going, he was walking. And when I walked in the door, he looked and he goes, "This is Microwave Dave." And I went, "Microwave?" So it was a blues guy started it, and an intoxicated listener finished it. And I just adopted it. My thing was, so when we started the band as Microwave Dave and the Nukes, everybody thought we were a punk band. They would see the name and say, a punk band, all right. And they'd say, that's a bunch of old that play the blues. They're not punk, And so we had to live down our own reputation before we had one,
Yeah, I saw that article with Stephen King endorsing you. That was pretty good. That's sweet. Yeah, well, who would have thought he would have been a cigar box fan?
No, it's a wannabe, but... Your tone control. There we go. Wow.
I mean, the first time I ever saw Dave, I remember being a really small child and going to the park with my parents, and he was performing at the gazebo, and they just said, "We're going to see Microwave Dave," and that name just held, like, really activated my imagination as a kid, and so ever since then, I've loved his music and followed him, and so as an adult, when I started my own business, to have them come here and ask us to do the t-shirts for the first Microwave Dave Day, and his foundation. We got to do Microwave Dave and the Nukes shirts. It just meant the world to me. He really is a local legend, and it's really weird to be talking about him in past tense. He's sort of a larger than life character for anybody who's grown up here or spent any amount of time here. So just to be able to work directly with him and speak with him, and you know, he went from this legendary person to just this gentle giant who is so personable, and as everybody will say, he's just so kind and genuine and gentle, and generous with his time, his talents, everything he had, and just to be in that fold in any sort of way was really an honor.
With everything happening, I mean, I guess I want to ask you kind of just thoughts. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to say it though. That's the thing. I think we're all trying to figure out that part. But I guess, you know, with Dave's legacy, I mean, Microwave Dave Day, how do you want to see that continue? In my opinion, you know, how do you want to see the foundation continue? In your opinion?
Oh yeah, I'm. For one thing, I'm really glad that it was something that happened before he passed away, and didn't wait until, you know, after he was gone to sort of celebrate him and his legacy and what he's meant to this city. And he was, through the foundation, he was able to influence so many more young lives with music, education, and I really hope that continues in his honor. I would love to see it keep growing, not just Microwave Dave Day, but all of the educational aspects of going into the schools and being able to have more musicians, you know, bring that love of music to more kids.
And I want to say to Dave, thank you, congratulations on having it your day, and also on behalf of the city of Huntsville for all that he has done for the city, for the young students, for the people that he's mentored and worked with, for everybody, every little cause that he's worked for and worked for free for. We want to give him a key to the city, saying thank you for all that you've done to the city, for the city of Huntsville.
in the music scene?
The local one or music scenes in general?
In general.
Well, I fell in love with music at a very young age. I came up in the age before television, and I had the advantage of my mother being a big music lover, and my dad liked it, but my mother was very musically oriented, and she was a self-taught ukulele player and a self-taught piano player, and she was always pointing things out that would come by on the radio. And back in those days, it was like what they used to call your hit parade radio. And because of that, she would say, oh, listen to this. And there'd be like a string bass part coming up on a big band record. You know, I know all these horns and stuff, and she'd be listening to the bass player. And so I started learning to focus, I think, because of her and hearing specific things that she liked. So I would be listening for things that maybe she would like this. So I would say, Mom, have you heard this? Do you like this? And she'd say, oh, yes, that's really good. You know, so that kind of started it young. But I became really attracted to music through the records that we had. We had old shellac 78s, and I was not allowed to touch those. They were fragile, and they were expensive back in the day. And then we got, around 1950 or 51, we got a Victrola, which played 45 RPM singles. They were new at the time. And one of the first things we got was a little box set of about 4 or 5 45s, you know, 2 songs per record. It was by Les Paul. Les Paul, the guitar player, the guy who invented the Les Paul guitar, the guy who invented studio overdubbing, the guy who invented multi-track recording. I mean, and an amazing player and an outgoing performer. He was just all those things at once, and very popular. And I played those things to death, and I just listened to them, and the sound of that electric guitar was in my head, you know, age 5, age 6. So I was really interested in it. And I didn't think about performing. I didn't know if I would ever get to play or not, but I just loved listening to those things. It was all listening to start with. And it wasn't really until, I think when I was in the 5th grade, I asked my mom for a ukulele because she played ukulele. And so I got one for my birthday. And so I started learning to play it. And what I was trying to do was say, how can I play the things that I'm hearing on, at this point, is rock and roll radio, top 40 radio. How can I play these things on these ukulele? They just didn't seem to work. And she said, well, they're playing different chords and they got more strings. You know, they're getting a bigger sound. Well, one morning I got up out of bed and stepped right on the back of my ukulele and crushed it. And boy, I was crushed. I mean, I cried for a couple of days, which I think even surprised me. But the result was, we had a guitar in the family for a while that my dad bought way back when I was probably in, maybe before 1st grade. And he was trying to learn to play it, I think, to just for my mom's sake, but he really did not have a talent for music. They would not, and he did his best, but so we went with it from house to house. Every time we moved, it went from attic to attic, you know. So they got it down, and Mom said, I believe the guitar, 4 strings on the guitar are the same as what you're playing, so you got to figure out what to do with the other 2. So I got a little music book, and then I started really listening to what was being played. And at that time, the big guys on the radio were Elvis Presley, Buddy Holly, Fats Domino, and people like that. And so the simple songs played with a lot of energy and a lot of impact, and those got me excited. I was in the 4th grade in Dallas, Texas, and a band came to my school. And really, I mean, this was 1955 I'm talking about, and you didn't see bands all the time. That whenever you saw a band play, you went to watch. If it was somebody singing opera, you stopped and watched them sing opera because it was just live music. And if they were playing a polka, you wouldn't watch them play a polka. So this band comes in, and they were a professional act. They were a professional act that toured, and they were playing Dixieland, traditional jazz, with a traditional lineup. And they were all dressed in jail stripes that had jail units. They were called the Cell Block 7. And they were entertaining Dixieland bands. They had the traditional lineup, they had a trumpet, a clarinet, a trombone. You have to have those for Dixieland. A piano, a string bass, and a drummer. And they had a Fender electric guitar, like a Telecaster, which at that point you could not have smuggled into a school in Texas because at that era, the conservatives of that era were very opposed to rock and roll. They were entirely opposed to its effect on children. and what it might be doing to our government, what it might be doing to our country, or everything. And they would actually play records and then snap them in half on the air. They would just break the record and say, "We're not playing that again. Rock and roll. We're done with it." But the result was this amazing beat, and the band that was having a great time playing. They were really having fun. They were enjoying each other. They were enjoying what they were doing. And all my friends are sitting at this beach like this. We're all like, "My gosh, what is it?" And we can't sit still. And we're looking at each other, fourth graders, like, I don't know what this is, but I like it. And so that really got into my bloodstream, I think, right off the bat. So by that point, I had an idea that music was something that I was probably going to really like for the rest of my life. 1974, coming into Huntsville right after a tornado and camping out at Montesano, right behind the amphitheater. And we started playing there, and to nobody, about 1 o'clock. And people started just trickling in. It was a pretty day. And people came to the park anyway, and they came over to see who was playing. And of course, nobody knew us. We had no following, nobody we knew. And then gradually more and more just kept showing up. And pretty soon we had about 3/4 of the amphitheater was full of people, mostly all hippies. And they were having a great time on our music. We were a good band, and they were having a great time. And they kept asking, "Where are you playing around here?" And we, of course, didn't have anything at that point. But it was the quality of attention that they paid, and the way they seemed to embrace the people who were making music that made me think, if this music community is like this here, that they feel this way about the people that make music, then they got to have something going on.
One of the amazing things about WLRH is the amazing volunteers that we have here that have been producing shows for such a long time, and Dave really for 36 years, almost 37 years, have been producing versions of Talkin' the Blues, whether it was live performances or sitting and spinning discs and talking using his vast knowledge of blues. Just amazing, but more than that, Dave was an incredible colleague. He wasn't here full time, obviously. He would come in to do his show, but he would also come in for as many of the events, the open houses, and he was extremely supportive, sending us email messages when he would hear what we would do on the air, telling us what he liked about it, just irreplaceable. Dave had a unique ability to figure out how he could give and help you personally. He would spend a bit of time talking with you, getting to know you, and then figure out where he could help make a difference. For me personally, it was after learning that I had my folks coming into town who were huge blues fans, and he offered to meet up with them and spin some discs and shoot the breeze. And it was just, he didn't know them, he didn't have to do that, and this was Thanksgiving, but he was interested to sit down and talk to them, share ideas of where they both used to hang out in Florida. And then my son was also in for that experience, and he sat down with him and his guitar, and they talked about music. He would do that on a personal level for people, and somehow this big guy managed to do that for an entire city, region, and beyond.
Everyone I talked to, they talked about how Dave would just kind of just work with them, and he'd kind of become, they were almost afraid because he was larger than life, and then he would just be one-on-one. What does that say about his legacy to you?
I think that there's going to be a lot of tears. There's going to be a lot of joy as everybody shares how he personally impacted them. And there's absolutely no way that this figure is going to go away. Dave is going to be living on through his music, through his passion, through how he touched everybody, and through what he did with the Microwave Dave Education Foundation and the kids. And here at the station, we're just starting to remember him. We'll be remembering him with a number of things this week. His final episode will be repeated this Thursday. And especially the drummer from his band, The Nukes, James Irwin, is going to be providing an introduction and a commentary on that. So that'll be something for all of us. That was a lot of episodes, a lot of music that Dave shared with everybody. I can't imagine any scenario where Microwave Dave Day doesn't continue and grow and get bigger and more impactful over time. I hope that this causes an awful lot of people to decide that they want to donate some money. They want to help continue this legacy go forward. I hope that it encourages more people to continue to listen to public radio, to listen to shows like Talkin' the Blues, expand their music horizons and listen to other programming that is being done by local artists capturing all kinds of different genres of music. That's the kind of thing that I think would be a real capturing of Dave's legacy, is just to continue to spread the joy of music. Because although Dave was a big proponent of the blues, you know, he'd been classically trained as well, and you know, he was in a band at school, and that's one of the reasons he was so passionate about kids getting involved in music education as well.